Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review and demo on the new Tarte Shape Tape Foundation, both the hydrating and the matte. I know there's been a lot of controversy and a lot of hype around this product, so I want to get this video up for you. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. I actually did wear one of them last night for over 12 hours, so I know the wear on that one, and then I did a half and half base today demo on both of them. So if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. My neighbor is snow blowing because we're in the middle of a blizzard here in Ohio. That's just my luck. Every time I start talking, they start snow blowing. So if you can hear that, I apologize. So before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that I've been seeing on social media with this foundation launch, which is the lack of shade range. And I do think it's something to talk about. You know, I do have that privilege. I've never really had an issue finding a shade, you know, to a certain extent. I've never not been able to buy a foundation, and I can't imagine if I were to go to Sephora and want to pick this up and them telling me, we don't have a shade for you. That's really sad and disheartening, and I think people like Fenty Beauty and even the Kylie concealers, whether she jumped on the train or not after Fenty, we're seeing growth, right? We're seeing companies come out with bigger shade ranges. Fenty Beauty really paved the way, and I think it's a great example for every other brand to be watching and following and mimicking. Everybody should be able to have a shade for them. Every single person, within reason. Obviously, it's not going to be the perfect undertone, whatever, but to come out with 15 shades and only have 2 that are geared for women of color, people of color, deeper skin tones, it's just not fair and it's disheartening. So before we get into this review, I totally acknowledge that. It makes me sad. It makes me upset. I think they need to do better. I think they know that. The outcry and the outrage I've been seeing on Instagram. I think I saw something where they said they were expanding to 10 more shades, and I would hope that those 10 shades are going to be deeper shades. We have enough light shades. There's a lot of, you know, fair, light, mediums. We have enough. We need to start focusing on everyone and be inclusive, and I totally agree. So I hear everyone. I know this is going to be, you know, an iffy video. People are going to be very angry and very, you know, riled up and upset, as they should be. As I said, I can't imagine wanting to purchase a product and them not having my shade, and the frustration and feeling like, why am I not included? So I totally get it. Your feelings are valid, and I think the influencers are talking out because this needs to be talked about. Tarte needs to expand this range. Not only Tarte, everyone, all these big brands. Take a note from Fenty, get on the movement. This should have been done a long time ago, and now it's like people are done. We're fed up and we want it. We want everyone to be included, so I totally get it. I just wanted to mention that before we get into the video, and I think we need to give them a chance to expand and, you know, learn from their wrongs. They're not the only company. There's a lot of different companies that really need to get on it. And I think, as I said, Fenty's kind of the bar now, and everybody's kind of got to meet that. So let's give them some time, and, you know, I think they've heard everybody. I'm just going to be focusing on the wear, how it applies, and just giving you a review of the foundation, because that's really my job. Whether, you know, a company only comes out with 4 shades or 10 shades or whatever, we need to tell them to do better, but I'm still going to review the product. So I just wanted to say that before we get into the video, and now let's begin the demo. Now first I want to talk about the tools that came with this package. They have 2 new items. So they have a sponge. Now this is called the Shaper Sponge. Retails for $28, and I'm going to give you a close-up of what it looks like. So as you can see, it has like a slant top, and then on each side there is flat sides, which I really enjoy. I will probably use the flat sides for foundation. So here's the larger side, and then when you turn it around, you can see on this side a little bit smaller, and then you do have the rounded bottom like a typical beauty blender. Now it says here right on the PR packaging that this is meant to be used with the hydrating foundation. So the sponge and the hydrating foundation is a match, and that's the way they recommend applying it. Now the other tool that they sent is their Paddle to Perfection foundation brush, and this is what it looks like. Very similar to like an Artiste brush, which we've been seeing a lot of. This is $28, and this is meant to be used with the matte foundation. So here is what the bristles look like up close of the brush, and then a side view. Pretty good size. I feel like you could get your foundation done pretty quickly. And then it has this little kind of detailing on the back. Now the retail for this is $39. You do get 1 ounce, which is typical. The claims for the hydrating foundation is that it is skin smoothing, makes the skin luminous and fresh, and it hydrates your skin, and they do recommend using it with their sponge, which is what we're going to do in the demo today. Here is what the actual packaging looks like. It is a frosted glass bottle with the signature Shape Tape top or cap. It has a blue ribbon around it and a little water droplet to signify that it is the hydrating foundation. In terms of how you apply it, is just like the Shape Tape, but a bigger wand, and you're going to apply it with the wand. Now, in terms of claims for the matte foundation, it says it visibly refines pores, absorbs shine, it nourishes with vitamin E, but there's no flaking, no caking, and they recommend using their paddle brush to apply. And then here is a close-up of the matte foundation. Looks very similar to the other one. Everything's the same except for it has a purple ribbon, and of course it says matte foundation on the front. And then just like the other one, you are going to use the wand to apply. Okay, so I've zoomed you in, and I'm going to go in with the hydrating side, and I'm just going to start swiping it on. I am in the shade Medium Neutral, which was the deepest shade they sent me. Light Neutral, Light Medium Neutral, and then Medium Neutral. So I typically have combo skin, and pores are my issue, so I would probably gravitate more towards the matte foundation, which obviously I did. I like more of a long wear, but I'm going to try this and we'll see. So I do have their sponge. It is damp, and I'm going to start with this flat edge and just start blending this in. So my first impressions is I actually enjoy the sponge. It's $28, which I think is pretty pricey. I'm not really sure why it's so expensive when you can get a beauty blender for $20. So that's kind of, I don't know, a drawback. That's pretty pricey for a sponge. I do like it. Feels very comparable, like I said, to the Eco Tools sponge, and that's drugstore. So in terms of the foundation, I think it's a good medium coverage. I don't find it too overly luminous or dewy. It definitely doesn't look like flat, like a matte would, but it's not accentuating any of my dry patches or my acne down here or my pores. So first impression is good, but I think everything changes once you set it. I always set my foundation because I am combo. So first impression is it's a good medium coverage. It looks nice on the skin. Once I apply both, I'll give you a close-up so you can see both sides. Okay, so now that we've applied that, let's go on to this side of my face. I'm going in with the matte shade, or the matte foundation in shade Medium Neutral. Same thing, I did use this last night like I said, and I'll tell you kind of how it wore as we go through the video. Now when I did use it last night, I just used a regular sponge, so I am going to use the brush though for the video purposes because that's the way they recommend it. Ooh. Okay. I see why they recommend. It's blending really nicely. I feel like it's full coverage. Very smoothing with the brush. I really like this. Okay, so now that I have both applied, I don't have any concealer or powder on yet. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, I've got the hydrating on this side. I've got the matte on this side. I prefer the matte. It applied very smoothly. Like I said, I used a sponge last night when I used it, but I do think that these pair well together very, very, very nicely. The sponge and the hydrating pair well, but I don't think you really need the sponge. For this though, I see why they are kind of a match made in heaven. Very smooth. A lot of times with brushes like this, it can kind of smear back and forth, but I did not find the case. It just really kind of gave me full coverage in one sweep. When I used this last night with a sponge, I had to do like 2 layers. When I used it today with the brush, I don't have to. It's full coverage in one go. I have rosacea, I have pores, I have some acne. So I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can see my skin up close. You can see both sides and see what you think. Okay, so now I am going to go in with Tarte Shape Tape on my under eyes concealer because we're going to conceal and powder and then see how everything lays after that. I am using the shade Light Medium. Sometimes I use Light Sand, it just depends, but lately I've been trying to not brighten so much under the eye because I feel like then I kind of white out or like brighten my whole face too much. So to blend this, I am going to use the Tarte sponge and we'll just see how this goes. No surprise here, the Shape Tape looks pretty much identical on both sides. It blended really nicely. I did find this a little bit big and kind of, I don't know, a little bit awkward to get under the eye. I do like this sharp edge, but again, the Eco Tools one has that, so I just don't know if this is like wowing me out of everything. Now looking side to side, again, I do prefer the matte side, but that's just kind of my preference with my skin, but they both blended seamlessly. I didn't have any grabbing or picking up the foundation or anything like that. So obviously I would assume so because they are kind of like sister products. So now we're going to go in and set. I'm going to use the Too Faced Born This Way powder, ethereal powder. This is my favorite powder because I do have pores I like to smooth out. So I'm going to use a damp sponge and I'm going to stamp it under the eyes, and then I'm going to stamp into the rest of the skin and set. So something to note is I feel like this sponge, I don't know if it's the texture, it's not picking up a lot of the powder. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to bake, I feel like it's a little bit difficult. Like I feel like I have powder on there, but I'm really digging in to bake, where usually I can just dip in really easily. So just something to note. Lately I haven't been baking as heavily. I've been more setting like this. So I'm just dipping in to the powder, and then I'm just kind of stippling into the skin. So here's what it looks like set on both sides. I'm going to zoom you guys in again so you can see what the skin looks like. When I'm looking in the mirror, I don't see a huge difference in terms of the matte versus the hydrating. I still feel like I look a little bit smoother on this side, which is the matte side, so that's my preference, but I'm sure wear time might be a little bit different, but I don't feel like the hydrating one felt super greasy or dewy, or like I've tried some before but felt like it was just going to slide off, and I don't feel like that. I feel like it's set and like neither of them are going to move, but I just feel like I prefer the matte side more. Okay, so now that I've applied and set, I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts, and we'll do some close-ups. I'll let you know how things blend on top. We want to make sure that we've got powder and contour, blush, highlight, everything blending nicely on top. So I'm going to do that real quick and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so my makeup is all finished. I didn't have any problems with blending. I do overall, as I said before, think that the matte side appears smoother, which is one of the claims that they had on the foundation. And as I said, I do not have dry skin, so hydrating is really not something that I'm into. If I had to pick standout products, I'm sure you know, it would be the matte foundation, and I do think the brush is really, really nice. The sponge is nice. It's, you know, to me not $28 nice. It's nice, but it's not my favorite. Hydrating foundation is not something that I would typically grab for, so it's really not in my wheelhouse. I can't really attest to how it feels or if it's super hydrating because I just don't have dry skin. But I wanted to put them both on just so you can see. In terms of the way my skin looks, it looks really nice. I don't have any texture that's really showing through, and overall it feels really nice. I would just say you have to build up the hydrating side, and you can get like one sweep with the matte side. Now I wanted to know, I did go to a Cavs game last night, and I put my makeup on about 1 p.m. and the game wasn't till 8, but we had a long drive because there was a lot of snow here in Ohio. So I had my makeup on from like 1, and then we got home to the hotel about 11:30, so about 10 hours, and my makeup still looked pretty good. We ate something because we were exhausted, and we decided to stay at the hotel because we were going to drive back, but the roads were so bad. So anyways, my point is, I wore this foundation, I slept in my makeup. Just please don't shoot. Don't shoot. I know it's terrible and I shouldn't have done it. I didn't even have like a contact case. I had to put my contacts like in a cup. It was just, you know, spur of the moment. We didn't plan very well. So my point is, I woke up this morning at like 6 in the morning and my foundation literally still looked pretty damn good. Like, it looked kind of scarily good. Very reminiscent of how like Estee Lauder Double Wear would wear, but a little bit different in terms of application if I had to kind of compare. Estee Lauder Double Wear is one of my favorites because it stays all day. It doesn't enhance my texture, and it just stays all day. It doesn't make me greasy, and that's what I'm looking for. So in terms of longevity, the matte foundation is crazy long wear. Like, I'm telling you, my skin, I had no makeup with me. I mean, I just wasn't planning on staying the night. And when I woke up this morning, I mean, my skin looked pretty damn good. I mean, it just looked maybe like I had my foundation on for 6 or 7 hours, 8 hours, and it was still kicking. So if you're looking for a long wear matte smoothing foundation, the matte foundation is probably one of my new favorites. Like, I feel like I'm going to want to reach for it over my double wear. I really like the applicator because, to me, again, I don't have to get foundation all over my hand. I can just kind of swipe and go. So I used it, like I said, yesterday with a sponge. I used it today with the brush. Both are great. I feel like either way you can go, but they really look beautiful on the skin. So that's what I'm going to say. Hydrating, again, I can't say much. It doesn't look bad, but I'm not like, oh, I need to wear it. I'm just a matte girl, so I can't say in terms of how long the hydrating will last, but I think it's worth noting that it doesn't look super dewy and it doesn't feel greasy like it's going to slide right off. So I feel like both are going to have a good wear time, but if you like a double wear, you like a full coverage matte long wear foundation, you are going to like the matte foundation. So I'm going to give you one more close-up of my skin just so you can see how everything looks on the skin when I blended everything out. Alright guys, so those are my final thoughts and first impressions on the new Tarte Shape Tape Foundation, both matte and hydrating. Let me know down below if you're going to pick it up, what your thoughts are. Obviously, I know people are riled up and people are going to be discussing the shade range, which is totally okay with me, but let's keep it civil and not attack each other in the comments. Let's just keep it, you know, a friendly discussion instead of like an argument. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new here, I would love for you to stay a while. I have a lot more videos coming your way, and I'll see you in the next one.